Hi there, welcome to another video. Today I'm in the centre of London, the capital of the United Kingdom. Quite literally the centre of the capital of the United Kingdom, Parliament Square. And a very noisy Parliament Square it is too. Probably not the best place to do a video intro. So in this video I'll explore how we get from here to the centre of the capital of Germany, Berlin, all by train. So stick with me for this video and we'll explore the route between London and Berlin. There is only one train that currently crosses from the United Kingdom to mainland Europe, and that is this train, the Eurostar. And at present, for passengers, the Eurostar only departs from this station, London St Pancras International. Sadly, there is no direct train from London, here, to Berlin, here. So I'm going to show you the route that I used, which coincidentally is the quickest and most direct route, but not the cheapest. This is going to mean 3 separate journey legs and 2 changes of train en route. Let's look at those. As stated, you have no choice but to take the Eurostar from London, which will take you through the Channel Tunnel and onto mainland Europe. And on this route, I will be disembarking the Eurostar at Brussels-Midi station. At Brussels-Midi, I'm going to change the Eurostar for Deutsche Bahn, the German National Railway, ICE 15 route, ICE or ICE standing for Intercity Express, taking this train to the German city of Cologne, or known by its anglicised name, Cologne. At Cologne, we will make our second and final change of train from ICE 15 to ICE 559 to Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Berlin Central Station. Now, I know what you're thinking, all this routing sounds really complicated. Really, don't worry. Use a train online booking app such as DB or Trainline. Now, I use Trainline and it does all the planning for you. All the ticketing and payment are electronic. Nothing to worry about. All you need is your phone to travel. Okay, enough looking at maps. Let's get out on the ground and start our journey for real. And we start our adventure here in London St Pancras International Station in central London. Now this is one of the UK's most prestigious and modern railway stations. Hard to remember that in the mid-1980s this station was derelict and awaiting demolition. However, in 2007 an £800 million upgrade to all the Victorian era brickwork was fused with modern 21st century architecture and technology. The impression I think you'll get is that this is a mix of rail transport hub, shopping mall and fine dining restaurant district. Personified, possibly, by this 9 metre tall, 20-tonne bronze sculpture, known as the Meeting Place. It is located at the far end of the terminus, overlooking the Eurostar platforms, created by British sculptor Paul Day, commissioned by Eurostar. The Eurostar departure terminal is located on the lower concourse of the station, but tonight I've only come down here to look at the info board, because as you can see my train does not depart until 06:16 in the morning with a check-in time of 04:40, which is fairly horrific. So I'll let this amateur pianist play you out while I head off to my hotel for the night. I'm not going far though, as I'll be staying in the 5-star St Pancras Renaissance Hotel located on the station itself, and about 4 minutes walk from the Eurostar terminal. On my other channel, my vlog channel, I've done a review and a tour of this hotel if you're thinking about staying here yourself. There's a link in the top right hand corner now, check it out if you're interested. Anyway, I've got a 4 AM start and I'm going to turn in now for our long journey in the morning. Good morning. Oh my god, it's early. It's 4:30 AM here, and here we are overlooking the shiny Eurostars wait to leave for the continent for the day. Now the reason I've started this early is for 2 reasons. Firstly, the Eurostar will not be as crowded at this time, and secondly, and importantly, it's the cheapest train. This is the entrance to the Eurostar departures terminal, before the people show up and before the mayhem starts. I've got some important advice for you here if you've never used Eurostar before. Arrive exactly 90 minutes before your train departure time. There's no point in arriving any earlier than that because the security guards will not allow you to join the queue earlier than 90 minutes. It can take between 30 and 45 minutes in the queue to clear security and immigration. Departure gates close for your train 30 minutes before departure. That's these gates here in front of you, not the train doors. You've still got to get through immigration and customs. 30 minutes or later and you're not getting on your train. For obvious reasons, I can't film this next part.
But the departure gates are automatic, and you'll need your ticket QR code either electronically on your phone or a printed ticket to scan to get through, remembering that you must present this at least 30 minutes before departure. Next, once you've got through the gates, you'll queue for security, which can take some time, but it's no different to an international airport. Your bags will be x-rayed and you'll go through a body scan, arch and maybe a wanding. Finally then, you will queue to cross the French Schengen border. Be aware that the Eurostar terminal is technically French territory. Passport control consists of a passport scan and biometric scan gate, and then a French gendarme will examine your passport and stamp it. Please don't forget your passport. For some reason this is really common on the Eurostar, as people don't seem to have an international travel mindset when using a train. Once you've gone through all the stress of the security and border checks, you can now relax in the departure lounge. Well, not really. The departure lounge is tiny, it is crowded at the best of times. This is at 5:30 in the morning when it's fairly quiet. My tip is to eat breakfast or lunch before you arrive at the terminal. The queues here are horrendous. Anyway, your train will board 20 minutes before departure and you'll be called up to your train and the gates will open. The train I'm boarding now is the 0616 Eurostar to Amsterdam. Of course, I'll be departing the train at Brussels-Midi. Right, I have a confession. I'm travelling first class for my entire journey, so my service and seating are going to be probably better, obviously better, than if you're intending to travel second or economy class. I do recommend using the first class because these trains can get fairly packed. This then is a look around the first class cabin of a Eurostar. As you can see, there's a lot of empty seats, and that's almost certainly because this is such an early train.
Welcome on board Eurostar 9106 to Amsterdam, calling at Brussels and Rotterdam. Please place your small items above your seat, leaving the luggage racks at the end of the coach for larger items. Thank you.
And finally, we are on our way at 0616 hours, pulling out of St Pancras station into dawn's early light in East London. And this is the major difference and major benefit of travelling by train instead of flying. You're able to sit back now and watch the world go by through your window. So our route will now take us through East London and out into the Kent countryside, and in about 30 minutes we're going to enter the Channel Tunnel near Folkestone. One of the benefits of travelling first class is that you get a complimentary continental breakfast in the morning or complimentary lunch. Although for breakfast I was fairly unimpressed. All you get is a swirl cake, 2 pieces of fruit, a yoghurt, orange juice, water and complimentary coffee. Okay, never look a gift horse in the mouth, but that's not going to sustain me for the day, is it really? Depending on your point of view, one of the best or indeed worst aspects of travelling on the Eurostar is navigating the Channel Tunnel, one of the engineering marvels of the modern world, and currently the world's second longest undersea tunnel. However, I do get the phobia in some people. I once travelled this route with a female friend of mine who was terrified at the prospect of being stuck on a train deep under the ocean. So here we are, about to enter the Channel Tunnel at the Folkestone portal in Kent. If it's your first time in Eurostar, don't expect anything dramatic. There is no warning that the Eurostar is about to enter the Channel Tunnel. And this is the approach route now, through the Folkestone Eurotunnel marshalling yards. Suddenly your windows will go dark and that's it. The Channel Tunnel opened in the year 1994. It is 50 kilometres or 31 miles in total length. The travelling time on a Eurostar through the tunnel is around 25 minutes. Nervous tunnel travellers can rest assured that the Channel Tunnel itself is actually 3 separate tunnels. A north running tunnel, a south running tunnel and a central service emergency tunnel, with cross-passage escape routes every 400 metres. The tunnel sits in solid rock hundreds of feet below the sea and not on the seabed. If you'd like to know more about the Channel Tunnel and its construction, check out my video on Samphire Hoe Country Park. Link in the top right hand corner. After about 25 minutes under the sea, travelling at 99 miles per hour, you will depart the tunnel as undramatically as you entered it, here at the French tunnel portal. From darkness, your window will suddenly burst into life as you transit through the French countryside. From the French tunnel portal, we now have about 50 minutes left of this leg of the journey. So we're going to bypass the French town of Lille and then cross the Belgian border near the town of Tournai. If you weren't already aware, and some people aren't, there are no passport checks at international borders in the European Schengen zone, so the train won't stop at any international border. And after 1 hour 50 minutes of travelling, we're now pulling into Brussels, the capital of Belgium, into Brussels-Midi station, in English Brussels South station, and to our first change of train. Now normally when I make this journey, I book my connection within 20 minutes of arriving, but for YouTube purposes for this film, I deliberately booked an hour wait at each station to do some filming. However, if this is your first trip, I recommend you do exactly the same, both if you are unfamiliar with using a European hub rail station, or simply to spend the time having a cup of coffee and a wander around before your next train. So since we've got an hour to kill, a quick look around Brussels-Midi station. As you can see, I've brought the London weather with me. Brussels-Midi is a fairly modern rail station, but I don't think it's the league of St Pancras International or Berlin Hauptbahnhof. This is a Belgian Brussels Eurostar passenger terminal, exactly the same format as the St Pancras one in London, as anybody going to the UK from the continent has to cross the UK border here. Don't worry if you don't speak French, or Flemish for that matter, my French is appalling, because most signs and announcements at Brussels-Midi are also in English. Remember though, when you're looking for your connecting train, it will be listed by its final destination, not the station you're travelling to, and sometimes on the departure boards they omit the IC number, which makes it a bit more difficult.
Track 12, track change, the 9:36 IC train to Brussels Airport Southampton, track 14, instead of track 12.
And just to illustrate that point, this is a sign for my train, the IC15 to Frankfurt. My station is Cologne, which is listed only because it's the next stop, and the 15 has been omitted. The DB, Deutsche Bahn ice trains vary in quality from the ultra-modern to a bit dated now. I'm lucky this is a fairly modern new build ice train. Something I really recommend is that always book your seat when you book your ticket when travelling intercity on the continent. It costs about €5 for second class, or is included in a first class ticket, because everybody else does, and you don't want to be hunting around for that one vacant seat in the carriage, particularly if your French or German language is not that great. So we've boarded ICE 15 at Brussels-Midi. These are the seats that we've booked in the first class carriage, and already we're pulling away towards Cologne. The ICE trains do not hang around, you've got about 5 minutes for boarding. The journey time between Brussels-Midi and Cologne is 1 hour 50 minutes. So that gives us plenty of time now to have a explore of the train and a look at a first class carriage. Sorry for the shoddy camera work, I'm getting buffeted about a bit. Ice trains in theory can do 300 kilometres an hour, but that is only on dedicated high-speed tracks. This being a regional intercity track, we're just poodling along at 137 kilometres per hour. The toilets in an ice train are more or less the same as you'd find in an aircraft, nothing really to write home about, and literally no room to swing a cat in one of them. About an hour into the journey, we crossed the German border near the town of Aachen. And you'll be relieved to know that it's no longer a German federal legal requirement to wear a COVID mask on a train on German territory, which it was till quite recently. There is a really good restaurant car on ICE trains, and you can also order food for delivery to your seat via the train Wi-Fi and website. However, for this trip I just had a couple of coffees as I was planning to have lunch at Cologne when we arrived. So here we are, putting into Cologne, Germany, the end of our second leg of our journey today, and our second and final change of train. This then is Cologne Hbf, or Cologne Main Station, and here we're going to disembark ICE 15, have a spot of lunch outside the cathedral, and then board ICE 559 for our final destination, Berlin Hauptbahnhof. Quick pointer here, make sure that you disembark with all your luggage and all your possessions, particularly your phone chargers, because as you can see, ICE trains do not hang around in the stations for long.
Meine Damen und Herren am Gleis 3, bitte steigen Sie ein. Vorsicht an den Türen und bei der Abfahrt des Zuges.
Cologne Hauptbahnhof is a regional hub station, and as a rail station it's really not that exciting. However, it is centrally located in the city and next to the famous Cologne Dom, or Cologne Cathedral. I've only got time for a quick bit of lunch here and not really time for sightseeing, but I'll show you the outside of the station. After a quick lunch, we're on the move again, on our way to platform 2 to pick up the ICE 559 to Berlin, the final leg of our journey today. This will be the longest leg of our journey today, taking 4 hours and 27 minutes to Berlin Hauptbahnhof. There will be a number of stops en route, and the final destination for this train is Berlin Ostbahnhof, or Berlin East Station. We want Berlin Hauptbahnhof, the penultimate stop on this line. If you're a train spotter, you'll note that this is a slightly older ICE train and therefore a bit dated internally. However, I am still travelling first class and it's still a decent way to spend 4.5 hours of your life. Not that I'm complaining, but you'll notice in this older ICE carriage that the first class seating is a lot more densely packed than the previous train.
Ich muss Ihnen mitteilen, dass sich unsere Abfahrt noch etwas verzögern wird, aufgrund von Personen im Gleis im Raum Köln-Mülheim. Wir werden in Kürze mit weiteren Informationen auf Sie zurückkommen.
So we say goodbye to Cologne and now we're heading east towards Berlin. Unlike the previous two legs, there are a number of intermediate stations, so we'll be stopping about 5 or 6 times en route at various cities throughout Germany. I'll quickly show you around the carriage of ICE 559 so you can compare it to my previous ICE journey. I won't labour the point about it being older rolling stock. I could make this a very long video and show you every intermediate stop on the line, but I will fast forward now 4.5 hours and a few hundred kilometres of German countryside to the point where we are now pulling into Berlin Hauptbahnhof, our final destination on this trip. You can certainly tell that Berlin sits on the edge of Eastern Europe. In London we left behind grey skies, temperatures of 8 degrees centigrade and a bit of drizzle. Here in Berlin, 1,000 kilometres east, the weather is now 0 degrees centigrade with snow and sleet. Lovely. We can wave goodbye to ICE 559 en route to its terminus, Berlin Ostbahnhof, Berlin East Bahnhof, which is about another 5 minutes down the track, not very far. This is Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Berlin Main Station, one of the nicest, most modern rail stations in Europe. So I think it's worth me showing you around a bit.
Ihre nächsten Anschlüsse RB 23 nach Flughafen Berlin-Brandenburg, Terminal 1 bis 2, über Berlin-Ostkreuz, Abfahrt 18:10 von Gleis L, RE1 nach Frankfurt oder über Fürstenwalde, Abfahrt 18:14.
Berlin Hauptbahnhof, Berlin Central Station, is the central transport hub for the city of Berlin. It has ICE high-speed connections, regional train connections. Also, it has connections for U-Bahn, the underground metro rail system, and the S-Bahn, the overground metro system. Now, even Germans can't decide what S in S-Bahn stands for. It can either mean Stadtbahn, town railway, or Schnellbahn, quick railway. And also, there are tram connections and road bus connections. Basically, there's everything here. As well as transport, you'll find this station has numerous public facilities and shops. Finally, for my British viewers, remember you're now in Germany. It will cost you at least €1 to use any public toilet here. So make sure you've got coins in your pocket. To wrap this video up, now we've arrived in Berlin Hauptbahnhof. Because I started this video off in London Parliament Square, I'm going to take you to the German equivalent, Platz der Republik. Don't worry, it's only a 5-minute walk across the Malka Bridge from the station. Finally, here we are, Platz der Republik in Berlin, right in front of the historic Reichstag building. 1,086 kilometres and 10 hours travelling by train from Parliament Square, Westminster, London this morning. Well, I hope you enjoyed the trip, and I certainly recommend that you consider taking the train rather than flying to enjoy a view of Europe that you wouldn't get otherwise. Hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making the trip. As ever, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking. And if you enjoy my style of presentation and filmmaking, please consider subscribing to my main channel or my secondary vlog channel, or both. Thanks for watching today. All the best. Bye now.